Hi, Anthony Galas, the credit expert here. Today I'm going to show you how to break the chains of credit slavery. If you're here, chances are your credit is less than stellar, and you're not alone. In fact, according to the CFED, 56% of U.S. citizens have subprime credit. That means well over 100 million people in the United States have a credit score less than 700. If that's you, you're definitely in the right place. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to good people all the time, and most of us at some point or another. It even happened to me a few years ago. I made a bad investment and got put into credit prison. If you've experienced it, I don't have to tell you how miserable it is with creditors calling you all hours of the day and night, banks canceling your credit cards, and the inability to get new lines of credit. Not a fun time. Here's a short list of the long-term cost of being a credit slave. It can cost you that job or promotion. According to a survey by the Society for Human Resource Management, 6 out of 10 private employers check credit histories before hiring. That could make it or break it for most of us. Also, you could get declined or higher costs for auto and home insurance, car loans, home purchase, or apartment rental, student loans, credit cards, and utilities. If you add all that up, credit slavery could easily be costing you thousands of dollars each year. And this list doesn't even include opportunity costs that are lost. For example, if you had good credit, you could have invested the extra money, and that way your money would have been working for you, earning interest instead of paying interest. There's no other way around it than to say, when your credit is bad, you're a slave to the system. Many of your freedoms are taken away, and it will cost you a lot not to have good credit. And that's not even including the more indirect but no less important effects of stress, frustration, helplessness, potential health issues, and relationship problems. So what now? How do you break free from credit slavery? How do you turn the tables on a system that is rigged against you? How do you reclaim the freedom and respect you deserve? You break the chains by discovering the true rules of the credit game and then applying that knowledge to win. Both knowledge and the right actions are vital to break free and reclaim what is rightfully yours, and you're going to learn both in this webinar, so pay close attention. This isn't just theory, this is information based on 10 years of personal research and direct experience in this industry, helping free myself and over 2,000 people along the way from credit slavery. Make sure to take notes, as this information will make the difference between continuing to be a credit slave or being set free to enjoy a 750 plus credit score. You probably know who the 3 credit bureaus are: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. But what you probably don't know is that the credit bureaus don't care about you. They don't care about how much money you make, who you are, what you've done, or how good a person you are. I know that sounds harsh, but the truth is that the credit bureaus are cold, heartless machines. There's no human on the other side of your credit report that's saying, "Oh gosh, Joe's a good guy, he's got a family to take care of. Let's let him slide on this one and give him the benefit of the doubt." No, the credit bureaus are nothing more than an automated computer algorithm that robotically spits out your score for all to see and use as they see fit based on a mysterious set of criteria that 99% of the population has yet to figure out. They don't care if you get that job, apartment, house, or new car. They don't care if you have to pay more on insurance and credit cards. They don't care if you have creditors hassling you all hours of the day and night. Its only job is to absorb the data it's fed, then unemotionally analyze it based on its unbending rules and report it to anyone who asks for it, regardless of the consequences to you. Now, this may on the surface sound like bad news, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, it's not. It's actually very good news, because when you understand the real rules of the credit game, you can beat the bureaus at their own game. You can literally turn the tables to your advantage. You are now the master and the credit system your slave, as it should be. The credit bureaus are a program. Give it what it needs to give you a 750 plus score, and you'll get it. Now let's dive a little deeper into the details of the credit report itself so that my later strategies for improving your credit will make complete sense. What is your credit report? It's a record of your credit payment history as reported by creditors and provided for purposes permitted by law, primarily to credit grantors, to help them quickly and objectively decide whether or not to give you credit. What is on your credit report? All our credit history for at least the last 7 to 10 years, your name, your social security number, date of birth, previous and current addresses and employers, public records, which is bankruptcies, tax liens, judgments and collections, specific credit information about each account, and inquiries, which is creditors who obtain information about your credit history. What's not on your credit report? Race and gender, national origin, religious or political preferences, medical history, banking information, and utility accounts, unless they're in collections. So how is this all regulated? Most of it falls under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. These acts outline and regulate the collection, dissemination, and use of consumer information, including consumer credit information. Without going into all the acts themselves, here are some of the key points to know that protect you. You must be told if information on your credit report has been used against you. You have the right to know what is on your credit report, and you have the right to ask for a copy of that credit report. You have the right to dispute incomplete or inaccurate information, and the consumer reporting agencies must correct or delete inaccurate, incomplete, or unverifiable information. Also, consumer reporting agencies may not report outdated, negative information. Access to your file is limited. You must give your consent for reports to be provided to employers, and you may seek damages from violators. What is a credit score? Credit scores are generated by the algorithm using elements of your credit behavior. Your score changes as your credit behavior changes, obviously both good and bad. Simply put, your credit score is the reputation for repaying your debts on time. Your score ranges from 300 to 900 points, but mostly between 400 and 800. You want to shoot for a 750 plus score for preferred interest rates and terms. Your score is based on the length of time the account has been established, 4 years plus is best. The number of open accounts, good or bad, for credit cards never have more than 3 to 5 cards max, and the balance to the credit limit at 25% or less is best. And you should use each of these cards monthly. Also, any derogatory remarks in collections or public records will affect your score. Surprisingly, your score has nothing to do with your income or credit limits. Now, what makes up your credit score? 35% is payment history, 30% is the amounts owed, 15% is the length of credit history, 10% is new credit, and another 10% for types of credit used. Let's talk about the top 7 credit myths. First one, your score will drop if you check your credit. Not true, unless pulled numerous times when applying for credit. Number 2, closing old accounts will improve your credit score. Possibly, if you have too many open accounts, but when you want to close them, you only want to close one at a time every 3 months. Number 3, once you pay off an account in negative standings, it will be removed from your credit report. Not true. It will remain for 7 years from being late or charged off, 10 years for bankruptcies. Number 4, being a cosigner does not make you responsible for the account. Oh yes, it sure does. And it will be on your report for 7 to 10 years. Number 5, paying off a debt will add 50 points to your credit score. Well, that depends on what's on the rest of your report. Number 6, being delinquent in one account does not affect my other current open lines of credit. False. Creditors will often soft pull your report to monitor it. What they're going to do is look at all the other accounts that are there, and they may reduce your line of credit or raise the interest rates or cancel it altogether. And number 7, bankruptcy cleans the slate. No, bankruptcy will add more negative info to existing items on your credit report. A lot of folks think that by declaring bankruptcy, it wipes my credit report clean. That's not true. It'll get rid of your financial responsibility, but will actually add more negative items to your credit report and make your credit even worse. Remember, we break the chains of credit slavery through discovering the true rules of the credit game and then applying that knowledge to win. Now let's switch gears to the application of that knowledge so you can play to win from now on. First, how can you improve your credit score? Obviously, avoid late payments and make sure to at least make your minimum monthly payment. Right the wrongs. Bring the account current as soon as possible. Strive for 3 to 5 credit cards max with 4+ years of good history. Use your cards monthly, but keep balances less than 25% of limit at all times and pay it off in full each month so you don't have to pay any interest. Monitor your credit. This will help you see derogatory remarks immediately, and that way you can deal with it quickly before it ruins your credit further. And if necessary, dispute with the specific creditor and bureau. Improve your behavior, set a limit on your credit usage, and stick to a budget. And avoid excessive inquiries. For example, if you're applying for credit, print a copy of your credit report and show that to the creditor and ask them if you're credit worthy given this information. That way you know ahead of time before they pull your credit whether you qualify or not, thus limiting the number of inquiries, which can lower your score. How to dispute. Dispute derogatories with all credit reporting agencies in writing. Include a copy of your credit report and mark the items in question. Also include copies of the documents that support your position. And whatever you do, do not dispute online. The credit bureaus have loopholes in the laws, so it's not in your favor to dispute online. In your letter, be sure to include your full name, social security number, date of birth, complete mailing address, name and account number of the creditor, and items in question, reason for the disagreement with the disputed items, be specific, and lastly, your signature. Now here's how the dispute process works. When you dispute a derogatory item, the credit bureau contacts the creditor to give them the opportunity to back up their claims and refute the dispute. If the creditor doesn't respond within 30 days with the appropriate information, the derogatory item must be removed. If the creditor responds appropriately, then the derogatory statement remains as is. Then you'll need to get more creative. You can't just send the same form letter every month. You have to give another reason based on your knowledge of the 200 plus laws under the different acts to dispute the derogatory claim. Disputing every derogatory item with every credit bureau every month can be very time consuming and tricky. For example, what if you disputed something that the credit companies verify against you? What kind of letter will you send next? You can't just send the same letter again. You need to use a different angle and a different law. And there are over 200 laws that protect you as a consumer, and you need to know what you're doing to get results. And you need to change it up every month. At this point, you have 4 choices. Number 1, you can wait and do nothing. Obviously, nothing will change, and you'll remain a credit slave. Number 2, you can repair your credit yourself, which is time-consuming, frustrating, and often not effective. Number 3, work with the wrong credit repair company and waste a lot of time and money with little results. Or number 4, you can work with the right credit restoration company and get it done thoroughly and be on your way to a 750 plus credit score. If you choose to work with a credit restoration company, I have to warn you though, not all credit restoration companies are good. Many of them are taking advantage of people because they don't know better. So don't let that happen to you. That's why I'm educating you so that you know what you're dealing with. Here are 6 things to look for in a credit restoration company. Number 1, watch out for the ones that say they're attorneys or lawyers, because they aren't. If most attorneys charge $300 an hour, do you really think they will work on your file for $100 or less a month? I don't think so. Number 2, make sure they dispute every derogatory remark the very first round and continue to do so until you request them to stop. Many companies only dispute a minimum number each time so they can keep you paying longer. Number 3, make sure they dispute with all 3 credit bureaus every time dispute letters go out. Again, many will only dispute with a single bureau 1 month and a different bureau the next. This is only to string it out and make you pay more. Number 4, make sure everything they do for you is transparent and reported to you in real time. Make sure you can look over their shoulders, so to speak, and keep them honest. They should have a back office for you to log into and follow the progress and email or text you from time to time with updates. And number 5, make sure they include an educational component so that you can be empowered to make the right choices. This is the only way to improve your credit for the long haul. Again, most credit repair companies are not going to go out of their way to tell you all the secrets, as they hope you'll end up in credit prison again so they can extract more money from you. Number 6, watch out for the ones that charge you in full for 6 or 12 months in advance. This is against FTC laws. And also avoid the ones that charge you per dispute, because this could get costly. Now, if you choose to go with me, I will do all of the above and have a special webinar offer for you in a moment. Plus, I'm the only credit restoration company that I know of that provides back-end education to ensure your long-term credit success. I pride myself in not only restoring your credit, but also providing you with ongoing education and training for getting a 750 plus score at no additional cost. And you don't have to just take my word on it. 3 of my past clients have agreed to be on the webinar today and share their experience with us. Okay, I'd like to start with Marcel. Marcel, are you there?
I am, Anthony. How are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Good to have you on the webinar today. I just wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions. Could you tell everyone what your circumstances were like before we started working on your credit?
Yeah, so this is my second time around. I first started in 2007 and was to buy a house, simply as that. Moving from California to North Carolina, looking to buy a house and needed to raise my credit score at least about 200 points. So the first time I entered the service with Anthony, jumped right in there. You guys got my credit score up over 250 points within the first 6 months of me being with you, and I was able to purchase my first home here in North Carolina.
Hey, that's awesome. So we got some great results for you that time around. What about this last time around? We just started you again, right?
Correct, yeah, and you know, like everybody else's circumstances, sometimes things happen where your credit score falls again, and that's what happened. Here it is now 5 years, 6 years later, my credit score dropped again. I reached back out to you for your services, and I've seen over 100-point increase in a month and a half that I have been with you. So again, raising my credit score to purchase another home, and your service is providing me with the ability to go out there and do that.
So I imagine you wouldn't have any hesitation recommending our services to other people?
Absolutely not. If the service itself works. And you know what's funny is I'm in sales, and you know everybody in marketing sales says that all marketing is the same. It's absolutely not, and neither is everybody's service out there for a credit repair. You guys take care of the actual person. You're there to consult the person, and you take the questions out of it, because at this point in the game, everybody has questions. And you know, if you have somebody that can answer your questions and you can truly trust what they say, that's half the battle right there. And with you guys, I definitely trust everything you tell me. For example, my wife and I just had a meeting with you a couple weeks ago about purchasing a house before your service was done. You gave us the greatest advice you could possibly give us, and we took your advice and we used it to not only save our money, but we pulled out of the house because the salesperson was lying to us the whole time. So without that meeting from you, we probably would have been in the hole some more money and probably wouldn't even gotten the house in the first place.
So let me ask you one last question here and let you go. I know you're a busy man. If someone was sitting on the fence considering joining our services, what would you have to say to them?
First question I would ask them is, why are you sitting on the fence? Do you own your home? Are you overpaying on any bills? Do you have any bill collectors that you're just tired of calling you? Your service stops that. Your service can get that to stop. Not only that, the service will raise your credit score. It's almost a guarantee. You have to be patient, but it's almost a guarantee that your credit score will rise. And I say, hey, there's no point in waiting.
That's awesome. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me today.
And next we have John in Hawaii on the line. Aloha, John. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Awesome. It's good to have you on the webinar. Listen, I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions. Let's talk about your circumstances before getting your credit fixed with me. What exactly was going on with your credit report?
Well, with my situation, it was basically a lot of the things since my father, myself, and my son all had the same name. A lot of the stuff that my dad had on his credit and what my son had on his credit was showing up on my credit report. And to have sometimes some of those things deleted or try to explain some of the situation, it was very difficult. So that's the situation that I was faced at that particular time.
So what were you trying to do at the time that made you notice that these items were on your report?
Well, it was during the time that I was refinancing my home. I don't check it all that often. And then when I went in to try to shop around with doing some financing on my home to get the best financing plan, basically they ran a credit report, and I was amazed of the amount of stuff that I had on my credit report that I didn't realize that was there. And it was only because a lot of the information, like I had mentioned, were either my dad's or my son's being mixed up with my stuff, causing, some issues on my credit scores.
Okay, so what made you decide to work with me?
I was referred to you by a friend, and I thought I'd give you a call and just to find. I had nothing to lose, so I had some questions about how to have these things removed and to improve my credit score so I could shop around for the best rates for my mortgage, and that's what I did.
So what were your results? And what was the experience like with us?
Excellent. I was able to get my credit score up to what I needed in order to get the best financing that was available out there in the market. And after a certain time period, I was able to accomplish what I set out to do.
Awesome. So would you recommend my services to others?
Sure, anytime.
Good. Hey, we got a lot of folks listening on the webinar. If there's anybody out there who was sitting on the fence considering whether or not to use my services, what advice would you have to offer them?
Oh, I would definitely recommend your services only because if you try doing this on your own, there's a lot of time involved. There's a lot of red tape that's involved, and if you don't know the different scenarios that are involved, you're gonna be climbing an uphill battle. Just leave it to the experts to do it, and it'll save you so much time and effort in order to get it done.
Okay, thanks, John. I really appreciate you being on the call with us.
No problem. Anytime.
And next we have Jackie on the line. Jackie, are you there?
I am. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, good to have you on the webinar. Just wanted to start off by asking, could you tell us a little bit about your circumstances before entering the credit restoration program?
Well, I have had good credit all my life and was used to being able to go anywhere and take my 700 score, 750 score and get what I wanted and get my condo. And I had some trouble, and one of my family members got sick, and I lost my job, and I wasn't able to pay the bills. So I had credit collectors calling me all the time. I was stressed out. I was pressured. I was scared. And I realized that I needed to do something quick.
So you declared bankruptcy, is that correct?
Well, once I realized that I was in this predicament, I tried debt management, and that ended up not working out. I ended up paying more money and realizing that I could not afford that. So I filed bankruptcy, and a load was lifting off my shoulders at the time, but then I realized later, now I have bad credit. I have a bankruptcy on my credit report, and I knew anything that I went to apply for or go to get, as soon as they pulled my credit score, they'd see that bankruptcy.
Okay, so what made you decide to work with me?
A friend of mine had mentioned a way to get your credit restored. So I got online and I found your website, and I was just amazed by how clear it was, how everything was explained, and it just gave me a sense of excitement knowing that, wow, my credit could be restored and I could move on with life and put these things behind me.
So what were the results you experienced with our services?
Well, I was amazed because I didn't expect things to happen as fast as they did. I know that he had mentioned each case is different, but right away I started seeing things fall off, and my credit report just started looking better. And till it was over, I think I started with a credit score after bankruptcy in the 500s, and now my credit score at the three bureaus, one is 798, the other one's 803, and the other one's 800. I mean, this is just amazing to have my credit restored and be back on track with being able to apply for things and have a great credit score again. I'm so amazed.
That's amazing. So would you recommend our services?
I would recommend your services 100%. Just a peace of mind alone, knowing that this is getting handled, it's getting worked on, and that this part of your life can be behind you. You can move on and absolutely see some results that will change your life. I mean, it's the best thing that I've ever done.
So if there's anyone out there right now listening to this webinar and are considering whether or not to use my services, what piece of advice would you offer them?
Oh, by far, I would say do it now, do it right away, because the longer and longer I waited, the longer I was stressed out, the more I thought about it, and the more time it would take for me to get my credit restored. So I was so happy that once I pressed the button go, I went for it and got started. That moment, I just had relief knowing that my credit was being worked on and that there was an end to this problem that had been nagging me for a while. So I always will say, get it done right away. I recommend it to my friends. I recommended it to my family. It is the way to go, and I'm so happy that I did it.
That's awesome. Hey, well, thanks for being on the webinar.
Thanks.
Hey, you're welcome, Jackie. Take care.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and thank you for everything that you've done.
Now, I'm going to share something that may be a bit shocking, but I believe it's a perfect illustration to really drive home the point of how expensive bad credit really is. Let's say you finance a car, $30,000 over 5 years, and at 3%, your payments would be $539 a month. But if your credit was slightly damaged and your interest rate goes up to 8%, then your monthly payment goes up to $608, which is an extra $4,154 over 5 years. And if your credit was more damaged and your interest rate goes up to 15%, then your monthly payment goes up to $713, which is an extra $10,478. That's crazy over 5 years. For our next illustration, let's say you purchase a home and over 30 years you finance $250,000 at an interest rate of 4.5%, your payments would be $1,266. But if you had slightly damaged credit, your interest rate might be 7%, which would raise that payment to $1,663 a month, which is an extra $142,758 over 30 years. That's crazy. And if it was a little bit more damage than that and you're paying 10% interest, your payment is raised almost to $2,200, which would be almost $334,000 over 30 years. So if you finance a new vehicle every 5 years for the next 30 years with bad credit, you could be paying an additional $62,870 for vehicles, and then you add another $333,799 for mortgage payments over the next 30 years, and you're looking at a cost of nearly $400,000. Okay, that would have been a nice retirement fund, not to mention it could have been invested safely over the same time period and been worth much, much more than that. So now that you know how much bad credit is really costing you and how to turn it around, the only question left is, how soon do you want to break the chains of credit slavery? When do you want to begin experiencing the freedom and peace of mind of moving toward a 750 plus credit score? If your answer is just to wait for the next 7 to 10 years, then you'll remain a credit slave. But if your answer is now, then I have a very special offer for you. When you become my client, this is what you'll get. I start right away to work on restoring your credit, usually within the same day or next business day of you enrolling in my services. Every derogatory item will be disputed with every credit bureau immediately, and we will continue until you request us to stop. This includes anything such as bankruptcies, tax liens, judgments, collections, lates, charge-offs, and any new derogatory items, even after we have already started. I will use the 200 plus laws that protect you to write a unique letter for each dispute each time. You'll have access 24/7 to your own personal online back office that will show you real-time progress and history of your credit disputing process across all 3 credit bureaus. It will show you when letters have been sent out for each dispute, and you'll see the results as they come in. It's like looking over our shoulder as we work on your account. This is as transparent as it gets. You can also submit questions through our back office and provide important information to us pertaining to each account. And the most importantly, you'll have access to the best personal credit education in the form of video lessons from me that will cover all aspects of your credit and increasing your credit score for the long term. To my knowledge, I'm the only one in the industry that offers this education. I want you to experience better credit now and for the rest of your life, and I will share everything I know to keep you there. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to email us and we'll be happy to respond. Thanks for joining me on this webinar. Now join the thousands that have been helped by filling out the form below to set up your free 15-minute phone consultation.